Lily, in her early 30s, had a heart that couldn't turn away from suffering. As an animal rescuer, she dedicated her life to saving those abandoned or neglected, especially horses. The bond she shared with them was undeniable, their quiet strength matching her own. With each animal she helped, she felt the weight of the world lift a little, as if giving them a second chance gave her the same. But despite her work, something inside Lily was broken. Her mother's death months ago left her with an empty space she couldn't fill. Her mother had been her best friend, her support. Now, Lily felt lost, drifting between caring for animals and confronting a grief too overwhelming to face. Her heart ached for the one person who truly understood her, and she struggled to breathe in the silence left behind. Lily withdrew into herself, even as she surrounded herself with animals. Loneliness gripped her tightly, and though friends reached out, she pushed them away. She couldn't bear their sympathy, couldn't share the weight of her loss. The animals understood her pain in a way no one else could, they didn't expect her to be strong. Yet, even among them, the loneliness was suffocating, like a shadow that wouldn't leave her side. Despite the emotional weight, Lily kept going. She poured herself into her work, rescuing horses from dangerous situations, caring for those in need. But it was draining. There were days when the exhaustion felt unbearable, yet she continued. She had to, because without it, what was left? Every task, though tiring, gave her a small sense of control over a life that felt out of her hands. Helping others was a constant reminder of what she couldn't fix, her mother's death. Every time she saved an animal, the guilt of not being able to save her mother pressed heavily on her. Was she doing enough? Was it worth it? These questions haunted her late at night, as she cleaned wounds, comforted the injured, and tried to heal the broken pieces of others, all while her own pain remained unaddressed. Her mother's love for animals had been passed down to her, and with it came a heavy burden. Lily felt the weight of continuing her mother's legacy. Every rescue, every animal she saved, was a reminder of the love they had shared. But it also fueled the guilt. She couldn't help her mother, and that failure echoed through everything she did, making her question if she was truly worthy of carrying her mother's work forward. Lily knew she couldn't keep running from her grief. She needed to find peace, not just for the animals, but for herself. Her work had been a way to escape, but it couldn't be her only salvation. The journey ahead would be long, but Lily was determined to find healing. The path to redemption started with saving herself, even if she didn't know how just yet. She had to start somewhere. Lily's phone rang, cutting through the silence of her quiet home. She answered, expecting a routine call. But the voice on the other end was frantic, almost breaking. "There's a mare, on the side of the road. Pregnant, she's barely able to stand," the caller said, voice trembling with panic. "Please, she needs help now." The words hit Lily like a punch to the gut. There was something in the caller's voice that made her stomach twist. This wasn't just another rescue, something about this mare felt urgent, different. Despite the exhaustion that had weighed her down for weeks, Lily felt a sharp pull in her chest. This was something she couldn't ignore. She pushed the heaviness of her grief aside, trying to find the strength to act. Without a second thought, Lily grabbed her keys and rushed to the door. The fatigue from countless sleepless nights, the weight of her own grief, didn't matter now. The mare needed her, and that was enough to push aside every ounce of exhaustion. She didn't stop to think about it. She couldn't afford to. This was her chance to do something, anything, to make a difference. Every instinct in her told her that if she didn't act now, it would be too late. With a deep breath, she started the car and sped toward the location, the urgency of the situation cutting through her emotional haze. When Lily arrived, the sight was even worse than she'd imagined. The mare stood shakily, her legs trembling as if they might give way at any moment. Her body was thin, ribs showing through her coat, and her eyes, those eyes, spoke of pain, fear, and abandonment. The mare seemed to be holding on by sheer willpower alone. Lily's heart twisted. She could feel time slipping away, the seconds counting down as the mare struggled to breathe. The urgency was clear, this wasn't just about rescuing an animal, it was a race against time to save both the mare and her unborn foal. The weight of the moment settled over Lily, making her hands shake as she reached for her equipment. As Lily moved closer, the mare's eyes locked onto hers, and Lily froze. There was something in that gaze, vulnerable, broken, that mirrored the pain she'd been running from since her mother's death. This mare, abandoned and struggling, wasn't just a victim of neglect. She was a reflection of Lily's own grief, her own isolation. Lily saw herself in the mare's eyes, both of them trapped in a world that had turned cruel and unforgiving. Lily had lost her mother. The mare had lost everything, left to suffer alone. The connection was immediate and overwhelming. As Lily knelt beside her, tears welled up. The mare's pain was her own. How could she help this creature when she felt so broken inside? Lily's hands trembled as she reached out to touch the mare. Doubt surged through her. Could she really save this animal? She had failed to save her mother, the one person who had meant everything to her. Her mind raced, how could she heal a creature who was in such dire need when her own heart was shattered? What if she couldn't fix this? What if she wasn't strong enough? The self-doubt, the feelings of inadequacy that had plagued her since her mother's passing, came rushing back. Was she worthy of this task? Was she capable of helping anyone when she couldn't even fix the emptiness inside herself? The weight of these thoughts nearly paralyzed her, but she couldn't let them win. Not now. As she carefully adjusted the mare's position, trying to ease her discomfort, Lily felt something shift within her. The mare's vulnerability was not just physical, it was emotional too. The same fear and pain Lily had been hiding for months were mirrored in the animal's eyes. This was more than just a rescue. It was a shared experience of pain, of loss, and of survival. Lily's chest tightened as she reached out, her voice soft, almost soothing. "You're not alone," she whispered, though she wasn't sure if she was speaking to the mare or to herself. The bond between them was undeniable, two souls in deep pain, yet both still fighting for a chance at life. In that moment, Lily realized this wasn't just about saving the mare, it was about saving herself. Despite the overwhelming self-doubt and the emotional weight of the moment, something inside Lily shifted. She could no longer afford to hesitate. The mare needed her. And in helping this mare, Lily found the strength to help herself. Taking a deep breath, she pushed through the swirling chaos in her mind. She would not let this mare suffer as she had suffered. She would not let her pain define her. This was her chance to heal. Through this mare's survival, Lily could begin to find peace with her own grief. With renewed determination, Lily set to work. She could feel the shift in her heart, a small but significant change. This was no longer just about rescuing the mare, it was about redemption. The path to healing began here. And Lily knew, for the first time in a long while, that she was ready to walk it. Lily had always been a fighter, but Cleo was pushing her limits. Each morning, she checked on the mare, her thin body struggling against the weight of her condition. The shelter's supplies were low, and every decision felt like a gamble, too little food, not enough medicine. Lily had to stretch the limited resources, making sure Cleo had what she needed to survive while balancing her own exhaustion. The mare was skittish, distrustful of humans, and Lily understood why. But this was different. This mare wasn't just a project, she was a survivor, just like Lily, and that made all the difference. Each cautious step she took to earn Cleo's trust felt like a victory in itself. Despite the frustration, despite the setbacks, Lily remained determined. Cleo had been given up on, but Lily wasn't going to let that happen. Not on her watch. Days passed, and with them, a bond began to form. It wasn't something that happened quickly, it was fragile, slow, and built on trust. Cleo's eyes, once wild with fear, began to soften when Lily approached. It was subtle at first, but Lily noticed. She was starting to see herself in Cleo. The mare's frailty, her hesitance, the vulnerability in her eyes, they reminded Lily of her own brokenness. She, too, had been abandoned, left to fend for herself in a world that had taken everything from her. And now, Cleo was here, trusting her with something she couldn't explain. Lily understood now, saving Cleo wasn't just about healing the mare. It was about healing herself. With each small progress Cleo made, Lily found strength she didn't know she had. In a way, they were both learning how to fight again. Everything seemed to be going so well. Cleo was eating, her coat was starting to shine, and Lily's heart began to feel lighter. But then, one morning, Cleo collapsed in her stall. It was sudden, too sudden. Lily's heart raced as she rushed to the mare's side, her mind spiraling into panic. Cleo was weak, struggling to breathe, her body trembling with fever. Lily didn't hesitate, she immediately called the vet, but she knew time was running out. The fear of losing Cleo struck her like a punch to the gut. She scrambled, using what little she had left to stabilize the mare, her hands trembling as she worked, desperately trying to save her. But the setback was more than just a physical blow, it was a reminder of how fragile everything was. Lily could feel her own vulnerability rising with each passing second. She had always been the one to fix things, to help others. But here, with Cleo, it felt like everything was slipping away. This wasn't just about the mare anymore, it was about her own battle with failure. She couldn't lose Cleo. She couldn't lose again. As Cleo fought for her life, Lily was plunged into a sea of doubt. She couldn't stop thinking about her mother, the one person she had always tried to impress, always tried to save. Her mother had been so strong, so determined, and Lily had never been able to measure up. The guilt of not being able to save her, the helplessness she felt when her mother passed, clung to her like a shadow. She could hear her mother's voice in her mind, always pushing her to be better, to do more. But no matter how hard Lily tried, she couldn't save her. Now, here she was, struggling to save Cleo, and the fear of failing again consumed her. What if she wasn't strong enough? What if she couldn't fix this, just like she couldn't fix her mother? She looked at Cleo, vulnerable and fragile, and for a moment, she wasn't sure she had the power to make a difference. The emotional weight of her past was heavy on her shoulders. Was she really capable of healing anyone, including herself? She didn't have the answers, but the fear of losing Cleo made her realize something crucial: to truly save others, she needed to heal herself first. But how could she do that when she was so broken? Then, after what felt like an eternity, there was a shift. Cleo's breathing slowed, and her fever broke. It wasn't much at first, a slight change, but Lily felt it. She could feel the spark of life returning to the mare. Slowly, over the next few days, Cleo began to regain her strength. Lily's care was paying off. Each day that passed was a victory, a small reminder that progress was possible. The light in Cleo's eyes returned, and the mare no longer seemed as frightened, her posture less tense. It was a slow recovery, but it was enough. It was enough to make Lily believe again. Cleo wasn't just a rescue. She was proof that things could get better. And Lily, well, she wasn't just saving Cleo anymore. She was saving herself. The progress was fragile, but it was progress, and that was something Lily hadn't felt in a long time. Her belief in healing, both Cleo's and her own, had been reignited. There was hope, finally. A small hope, but it was real. As Cleo's strength returned, so did something else within Lily, a sense of possibility, of growth. She had been so focused on saving the mare, on fixing everything that was broken, that she hadn't allowed herself the space to heal. But now, as Cleo stood on steady legs and grazed quietly in the field, Lily began to understand. The work wasn't just about the animals she saved, it was about her own journey too. She had been living in the shadow of her mother's memory, feeling unworthy of love or success, always comparing herself to a woman who seemed invincible. But Cleo's recovery had shown her something. Healing wasn't an immediate fix. It was a slow, often painful process, and it took time. It wasn't about being perfect or measuring up to someone else, it was about finding the strength to keep going, no matter how hard it got. Lily realized that she, too, had to give herself the same grace she gave to Cleo. She had to forgive herself for her perceived failures, to understand that healing was a journey, not a destination. The pain from her mother's death didn't disappear overnight, but it began to feel less like a weight around her neck. She was learning, slowly but surely, how to let go of the past and embrace the future. And as Cleo recovered, so did she. In saving Cleo, Lily was starting to save herself. Despite Cleo's recovery, Lily couldn't shake the lingering doubts that clung to her like a second skin. Her own healing process was still messy, still complicated. She had come so far, but there were days when the weight of her grief felt too heavy to bear. The emptiness left by her mother's death still echoed in her heart. Healing wasn't as easy as fixing a broken body. It took time, it took patience, and Lily wasn't sure if she could be patient enough with herself. The emotional scars from her past hadn't healed, and they lingered, reminding her that the journey wasn't over. Not yet. The day had arrived. Cleo's due date was here, and Lily was ready, though a part of her trembled with anxiety. She hadn't left Cleo's side for hours, her every movement watched carefully as the mare's exhaustion deepened. The room felt still, but inside, the air crackled with tension. Lily could feel it, the weight of what was coming. It wasn't just about delivering a foal, it was about everything she had worked for, everything she had fought through. She stood next to Cleo, her fingers lightly grazing the mare's side as she tried to steady her breath. Her heart beat faster with every contraction, each one harder than the last. Lily glanced at Cleo's tired eyes, knowing the moment was drawing near. She could feel a knot form in her stomach. There was no turning back now. The stakes had never been higher. Everything they had gone through, Cleo's recovery, the sleepless nights, the uncertain days, had led to this. And yet, a gnawing fear settled deep inside Lily. Would she be enough? Could she really bring Cleo through this, and the foal too? Time was slipping away, and Lily's hope clashed with the dread twisting inside her. The future, for them both, rested on what would happen next. As the hours passed, Lily's fears began to turn into something more tangible. Cleo's labor wasn't progressing like it should. The tension that had been simmering now felt suffocating. Lily's eyes darted over Cleo's side, and her heart skipped a beat when she realized the foal wasn't positioned right. It was a critical problem. Her hands shook as she carefully felt for the foal's position. Her breath was shallow. There was no time to waste. She needed to act fast. She pressed down gently, trying to assess the situation. The foal was stuck, and without immediate intervention, neither Cleo nor the foal stood a chance. Lily's mind raced. She had helped deliver animals before, but this was different. This was Cleo. She couldn't fail her. The weight of responsibility pressed down on her chest like a heavy stone. Her hands trembled, but she pushed aside her panic. She had no room for fear now. She was all Cleo had. Lily spoke softly to the mare, trying to steady her own emotions. "We can do this, Cleo. I won't let you down." She took a deep breath, making the decision to attempt repositioning the foal herself. The situation was dire, but she wasn't going to stop now. She couldn't. This was her moment to prove that she was strong enough to save them both. Minutes turned into an eternity. The labor pains were coming faster now, and Cleo's distress was clear. Lily's heart pounded in her chest, each beat feeling like it might tear her apart. The weight of the situation was suffocating. Cleo was in pain, and Lily could see the life draining from her mare with every strained breath. Cleo's life hung in the balance, and Lily knew that this was the defining moment. Everything she had worked for, all the sleepless nights and sacrifices, had led to this. Could she save them both? Could she do it? She felt a sharp pang in her chest, the thought of losing Cleo cutting through her like a blade. The memories of her mother's death came rushing back, those last moments of helplessness, that feeling of failure that had never truly gone away. But Lily wasn't going to let that defeat her. She couldn't. Not again. With a steadying breath, Lily knelt beside Cleo, her hands moving with purpose. She knew this was her only chance. With all the strength she had left, Lily acted quickly, working with everything she had to get the foal into the correct position. It was a struggle, her body ached, her hands were slick with sweat, but she refused to let go. This was her moment. Her heart beat for Cleo now, for the foal, for herself. She couldn't back down. Not this time. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the foal emerged, a small, fragile creature, trembling with life. The relief that flooded through Lily was immediate, though it was quickly tempered by the continued distress of Cleo. The battle wasn't over. There was still more to be done. Lily's breath caught in her throat as she cradled the foal, ensuring it began to breathe. Tears welled in her eyes as the tiny creature's first cries filled the air, a sound of hope, a sound of survival. Cleo's labored breathing seemed to slow, and Lily knew she had done it. She had saved them both. But even in this moment of triumph, Lily felt the weight of exhaustion and emotion press in. She had come so close to losing everything, but now, there was hope. And something else, something deeper. For the first time in a long while, Lily didn't feel like a failure. She felt the tiniest sliver of redemption. This moment, this victory, wasn't just for Cleo and her foal. It was for Lily too. She had proven to herself that she could rise above her fears, her doubts, and her past. As Cleo and her foal rested, recovering from the ordeal, Lily stood back and watched, her heart still racing but her mind at ease. She felt a sense of peace settling into her bones. The struggle had been intense, but now, in the quiet of the aftermath, she realized something. She hadn't just saved Cleo and her foal. She had saved herself. The birth of the foal wasn't just a new beginning for the tiny creature, it was a new beginning for Lily. She had faced her darkest fears and emerged stronger, more capable than ever. The weight of grief, the gnawing emptiness that had plagued her for so long, didn't seem as insurmountable now. As she watched Cleo nuzzle her foal, Lily knew that this victory was more than just a moment of success, it was a turning point in her own journey. She had proven to herself that she was capable of love, of healing, and of perseverance. Lily took a deep breath, feeling the weight of her past slowly lift. She wasn't defined by her grief, by her failures, or by the pain of loss. She was defined by the strength she had discovered in herself, and by the new life she had helped bring into the world. For the first time in years, Lily felt hope. The journey ahead wouldn't be easy, but she knew now that she was ready for whatever came next. And as she gazed at the foal, she knew that she was no longer running from the past. She was walking toward a future, her future, full of possibility, healing, and love. Lily watches Cleo and her foal resting peacefully. The quiet moment feels like a breath of fresh air. The journey they've shared, the pain, the fear, has finally led to this calm. Lily can feel the unspoken bond between her and Cleo, both survivors of hardship. As she tends to their needs, she realizes that Cleo's recovery has been her own healing process. The loss of her mother still aches, but Lily sees a flicker of hope now. Saving Cleo has begun to mend the wounds in her heart, and for the first time, she feels a sense of peace and understanding she thought was lost forever. Every day, Lily watches Cleo care for her foal. The foal, once fragile, is growing stronger under Cleo's care, mirroring the healing Lily is starting to feel in her own life. The bond between mother and foal is a powerful reminder that healing takes time, but it's real. As she sees Cleo's resilience, Lily believes for the first time that she can heal too. The grief that clouded her world is beginning to lift. The sight of the foal growing stronger and more independent gives Lily hope. She's learning that, like Cleo, she too can overcome the pain and move forward. Lily stands in the barn, watching Cleo and her foal. She feels a deep wave of emotion. The guilt and self-doubt she's carried since her mother's death begin to ease. She realizes that healing starts with self-forgiveness. It's not about fixing what's broken overnight, but accepting the brokenness and learning to love herself despite it. Watching Cleo's tender care for her foal, Lily understands that healing isn't perfect, it's messy, but it's real. She starts to forgive herself, letting go of the weight that's held her back for so long. As Cleo and the foal thrive, Lily feels a sense of closure. The foal's strength is a symbol that life continues, even after loss. Lily sees that, while the grief from her mother's death will always remain, she's learned to live with it. Watching the foal grow gives Lily a reminder that healing is possible, even when the journey feels long. She realizes that closure isn't forgetting, it's learning to live with the pain and still move forward, knowing that love and hope can heal even the deepest wounds. Lily stands watching Cleo and the foal, knowing her journey with them has transformed her. She's found purpose in caring for them, and in doing so, has found peace within herself. Healing isn't about perfection, it's about growth, love, and new beginnings. As she looks toward the future, Lily is ready to face whatever comes next. Her work with Cleo and the foal has taught her that love and self-compassion are the keys to healing, and she's ready to embrace the journey ahead. If Lily's journey of healing and redemption resonates with you, subscribe for more emotional stories about growth, love, and new beginnings. Share your thoughts in the comments and join the conversation. Let's explore the power of second chances and the strength to move forward together.